the message.
Well, I'll have to check that out. Unfortunately, I didn't see it. We are live back with you. So yeah, we're going to be talking tonight in our second. I've got Michael. Michael, good evening.
Hi, welcome.
And I've got to find that note. We were talking earlier today, and I didn't catch a PDF. There it is, right there.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm going to open it up and we'll take a look at it. We're going to be talking tonight a little bit about. You did your research, your stats.
North versus South.
North versus South, because we've talked about weddings, and some of you watched the Tuesday Tips video I did a couple of weeks ago where I talked about some of the things if I were training DJs, and actually I put that together as a training for my son who's going to be doing a wedding here this fall. Some of the things that a DJ doing some Midwest weddings would need to know. So we put that together, and that was kind of a cool thing, but I had a lot of you, North versus South. What about West? Well, Dance and Tune, that's a great question, and you're going to find out that when we refer to East Coast or West Coast weddings are even different than probably what Mike and I are going to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
Because when they start talking about some things and they're like, yeah, and then we do this, and then we promenade to the left, and then wait a second, that's a different one. So we're just
one extreme at a time.
Yeah, we're going to just basically talk about some differences that there are between the two, and there's a lot of similarities I think between Mike, how your weddings go and how we do up here. But you did some stats. Kind of go through what you did here before we jump into the actual. Because you give us some of the numbers you were finding. Because he looked at my kind of geographic region and his geographic region here today.
Right. So one of the things that I wanted to avoid during this conversation was having people say, well, one of us has a high-end wedding client and the other one doesn't. So I wanted to know just exactly how close is our playing field. So I got your zip code, and of course I knew mine, and I punched those into a website and came up with some average numbers. So in John's neighborhood, the average wedding couple spends between $16,700 to $27,900. And in my area, people are spending $14,400 to $24,000. So basically, we're within a couple of thousand of each other. So we're really, really close in the big picture of weddings. So then I wanted to drill down one more layer and see just how much was the DJ entertainment difference between our areas, being Minnesota and Louisiana. And they're not. They're basically the same thing. John's World for an average DJ is $492 to $820. For a well-seasoned pro, the website is suggesting $984 to $1312. And in my neck of the woods, down in Lafayette, Louisiana, it's $507 to $845 for an average. And for a well-seasoned pro, $1,000 to $1,300. So again, our numbers are really, really close. And so while our couples spend a couple of thousand less overall on the wedding, we're slightly higher for the DJ pay in both ranges, not by much, nothing noticeable that you'd want to run home and talk about. So I just wanted to set this up so that when people would view this and they would realize that we are pretty close to about as close as you could possibly be, even though we're 1,300 miles apart.
Yeah, very, very close. That's actually very interesting how close they are that way. Because when we hit our East Coast friends, it's way
or West
or West Coast friends, yeah, way difference.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's start talking about overall timeline of the day.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So the first question I want to ask you is, how many rehearsals do you do?
How many rehearsals do I do? I probably will hit 3 or 4 a year, and that's about all I hit.
Okay, and we've climbed up to about 10% of our events. It used to be, none, and of course it slowly worked its way up. And currently we're doing 8 to 10%.
Now, when you're doing the rehearsal, meeting with the rehearsals, is that because you're doing ceremony music?
No, because we're coordinating the actual rehearsal walkthrough. No music, no toys, no electronics, just a clipboard and a piece of paper, and the tools that I've gathered along the way, and actually coordinate, line up everyone, get them to do the walk several times, answer all the questions, etc., so that everybody on the next day, the following day for the wedding, or whenever it actually is, usually it's the next day, will know exactly what it is that they're doing. It was a way that I found to earn some extra income through a DVD that I picked up, and actually sat in a class in Houston. Larry Williams taught that, and it's added significantly to my annual income.
Nice.
for days that I would normally have off. It creates a little bit of a problem for a Saturday wedding because rehearsals are usually on Friday. And the way that I've combated that was by training my wife, and which she takes care of the photo booth, which we can easily replace her with another person, just a staff member. So if I'm not available because I'm DJing something, my wife will go do the coordination and handle the rehearsal. It's worked out great.
Yeah. I think about 4 or 5 years, goodness, maybe it was 6 or 7 years ago, there was a online bridal certification that you could go and become a certified bridal consultant. Okay. And I had gone through that program. Gosh, oh boy, now it's pushing 10 years. Oh, wow, 8 time flies. And I went through that course, and at that time, I was probably meeting and helping plan out well over 2/3 of my weddings, just because I had that certification, and it helped to move my rate up, because now not only was I able to help you in this aspect, but I can also give you this aspect. And that really, really went well for a couple of years. And then about 4 different DJs in my market went out and attained the same type of certification. And it became, yep, well, he does it too. Yes, he does. So I haven't, so it's interesting that you're able to offer that, and it's still, it's being a revenue stream for you. That's great. That's awesome.
It's worked well. What about your ceremonies? How many ceremonies?
Ceremonies, I'm going to be doing 3 of them this summer, and that is about it.
Okay.
Just because of the others are in churches, I'm only doing ceremony this particular year, ceremony sound and such in support, in 2 difficult locations where there isn't electricity, so we're going to be out in the middle of nowhere with battery, and the others at a golf course where they didn't have a sound system up.
Gotcha. And for me, about 50% of my weddings, we will also include a ceremony.
In the church and all?
No, not churches. Civil services being held either in the venue or outside the venue, and the reception would be inside or at a different location. Almost all of them are on the same property, but just generally outdoor ceremonies followed by an indoor reception.
One of the venues in which I used to do a lot of, where they would have the ceremony there, it's a high-end venue, and they decided that they were going to buy a $2,000 portable speaker system. That it was it's a high-end, and I remember the name of it right offhand. But they bought this, and they charged the first couple of brides, but it went so poorly that they just started offering it for free. But they don't know how to run it. And what ends up happening is that the couples are like, oh yeah, they've got a sound system for the front yard, and they're not charging us for it. It's like, yes, but they don't do what I do.
Right,
I don't want to say they don't know how to run it, but it's like, but I'll be right there and be able to do that. And their staff is busy running around and may not be able to, whatever. Oh no. So that was something that I was at that time charging an additional $300 to $400 just to come around to the, bring that little PA system in for 5 or 6 weddings a summer. And that's all gone because of that. And unfortunate, but that's kind of how it went.
Yeah. In my area, I'm really surprised that a lot of my competitors grossly underprice the ceremony add-on.
Yep.
And when I mean grossly, I'm talking about gross. Like, they'll charge like $50 to do a ceremony. And I just don't get it. The simple math is whatever your overtime rate for your reception is, plus the equipment rental should be the absolute minimum that you would charge, whatever that is. Because typically, for me anyway, in my world, it's an hour. We have a half hour for the prelude, seating and all, and then the 30 minutes for the ceremony itself.
Yeah, some of my ceremony systems, the one is going to be a $750 for the ceremony, because again, it's taking battery powered gear. It's got more time and more things in it, and I believe the others are both going to be $500 this particular year. The one at the other hotel was literally rock and roller cart, 1 speaker, 1 microphone, in the laptop around the thing, click click click, quick and done. But they're not all like that. Some of them you've got to travel for. That stinks.
This is true. So now let's move into the next one. How many cocktail hours do you have, percentage-wise?
Everyone.
Okay.
100% with the cocktail dinner and with the dance. So
not excluding the ceremony, are you looking at a 5-hour event day?
Here's where this changes especially with our East Coast friends. My event is going to be without any additional time with the dance, it's probably a 7-hour day. They're going to arrive an hour before dinner. So I've got cocktail music going from 5 to 6, let's say. Then from 6 to 8 o'clock is the dinner and the downtime, because every venue has gotten pokey this year. So it's now back to 2 hours between dinner and the dance, and then dance from 8 to 12. Got a 7-hour block.
Okay. And not counting load in or load out.
Right.
Just
Yes.
strictly playable time. Okay. And the reason that I ask is that here in Louisiana, if I do 100 weddings, 1 or 2 of them will have a cocktail hour. Very, very few. They just don't happen very often. But then I have another strange split going on. If you think about the boot shape of our state, Louisiana, and then Baton Rouge is kind of in the center and the bottom of the boot. And the Mississippi River runs right through Baton Rouge. And so everybody on the west side of the Mississippi seems to have a standard 4-hour wedding reception package, which one, there's no cocktail hour included. And everybody east of the Mississippi seems to have a 3-hour package, which, it gets even tighter. So, yeah, I know. I saw that look. So you've got to squeeze in what we normally would do in 4 hours into 3 hours if we go to Baton Rouge or New Orleans, which is a huge destination wedding location, especially because of the international airport, plus New Orleans being such a city, as it is.
When you're saying 3 hours and 4 hours, I mean, is that beginning to end?
Total playing time, yes.
Holy cats.
Standard reception in Lafayette, Louisiana is 4 hours. And I'm an hour west of Baton Rouge, of the Mississippi River that I mentioned. And then Baton Rouge itself is on the east side of the Mississippi, and New Orleans is another hour the other direction. And just an hour away from me, things change dramatically.
Wow.
So, if we have a cocktail hour, it would fall in line, it would be added to it. So it would make it a 5-hour event or a 4-hour event, depending on location. But very rarely do we do cocktail hours at all. So I was surprised when you said 100%.
Yeah, it's pretty much every event. I think a couple of years ago was the only time I didn't, and that was because they ate dinner and such at the church, and then they came to the reception. For those of you out in the chat room, Howie mentions he's got the 7-hour too. How many hours are your wedding receptions, basically from the time you start to the time you end, typically?
Are we talking about playing time?
Yes, playing. Well, from the time basically you're starting. If you start,
play.
You're starting to play.
Right. It's like 4 hours, 8 to 12, 7 to 11. I arrive an hour and a half beforehand to set up. It takes me about 45 minutes to set up the gear, do all the tests, make sure everything sounds great, looks great, put all the cables or the cases away. And then I'm just twiddling my thumbs waiting for the event to kick off. But 4-hour events, 4-hour Christmas parties, 4-hour wedding receptions, 4-hour. Even a Sweet 16 is 4 hours here.
So you're going to have to take us through your timeline now, because for some of you, you probably, again, watch that Tuesday tip. I went through the whole what a 7-hour thing could look like. Mike, you got to take us through. Okay, so a 6 to 10, is that kind of a common time for you then?
It could be, but 7 to 11 is more common. Okay. Mostly, just so that everybody that does work on the weekends has time to get off after 5 and then come to the event. So 7 to 11 is my most popular block, but we do anything the client wants, of course, just like the rest of you. And 8 to 12 is fairly common as well. So, all right, so the breakdown. I arrive an hour and a half before. I've set up. I'm assuming in this example, it's just there's no ceremony involved. It's just a reception. Mm-hmm. We don't have a cocktail hour. Guests start arriving. I'll start playing background music. I call it seating, but for all intents and purposes, it could be a little mini cocktail hour. And then the bride and groom would typically arrive about 30 minutes later, post ceremony pictures. So they arrive, they get introduced, and then there's a fork in the road. If there is a wedding coordinator, which we very rarely have here, occasionally, like maybe 10% of the time, we'll have a coordinator. So if a coordinator is involved, they want them to do the formal dances first. And if there isn't a coordinator involved, then we usually go introduce them, take them over to the cake. They start doing those pictures. The guests are eating. Once the cake pictures are done, then they do their formal dances, open up the dance floor, and away we go.
Wow, that is definitely different. Let's take a little break here, and then let's come back and talk about the activities in the timeline. We'll dig into that just a little bit more. But we've got our summer 2016 sponsors here with DJ and TV.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Top Hits USA from RPM. Our name says it all. Get the latest hits while they're the hottest. With Top Hits USA, you'll have the track for sure. Visit tophitsusa.com or call 800-521-2537 and get a free demo.
Those are some of the sponsors for our DJ and TV shows for 2016 summer shows. So please show them some love, because without their support, things like this just could not happen. And we want to make sure they are loved. So before the break, we were talking about the 4-hour event. I am super jealous. Because as you know, some of you have mentioned, you do the 7-hour events. I'm going to go through the timeline on that. So typically what happens is a lot of our events are either Lutheran weddings or they're Catholic weddings. And Catholic weddings generally in this neck of the woods have to be started. They have to start at 2 and they have to be done by 3. That means that if they can try to push things back a little bit as much as possible, but the guests are generally arriving at 5 o'clock in either way. They arrive at 5, maybe even 4:30. Sometimes I've had them arriving at 4. They're not supposed to be there till 5 o'clock, but there they are. You know, those guests that just fly over from the church. So we start the background music at 5 o'clock. Then comes 6 o'clock is when we're going to start we introduce ahead of 6, get everyone seated at 6 o'clock for the meal. Making faces behind. No, my kids actually came in just a few minutes. Sorry, this was on the chat room. They came in a few minutes ago and they came over and walked, and one of them made a silly face, and then they went back out. So yes, they do, but they do it on that side. Okay, so 6 o'clock we're eating. Then we've got the dinner, and it's kind of 50-50 with is it a buffet or is it a plated, depending upon the venue. It's either a buffet or some buffets it's the bride and groom even going through the buffet. That's how classy we are up here. Then we'll do the toast and such about halfway through. Then we get to the dance, and it's going to be somewhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock with the dance. If we contract and such out and they want to do a 2-hour, and then we don't want to start the dance till that, and if we start the dance early, it used to be a lot easier for us to say, we started at the dance at 7:30, 4-hour dance, done at 11:30. It's like, for some reason, it's become, we going till 12 is more important than 4 hours, and people will just, so we start somewhere between 7:30 and 8, and we're wrapping it up at 12 o'clock. It's a long day. Setup and such, because of the guests maybe arriving at 4 o'clock, I generally arrive an hour before the start of the ceremony time. So I might be there, getting there at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon to do setup, because I don't want to have anything being set up or having to struggle with things, and I want to go get done, cleaned up a little bit, changed, and good to go. But
sure.
7 hours compared to...
Yeah, it's a long day. It's a long day. And it also, when you put the numbers, which I won't ask you to reveal, but when you when you start comparing what other people are making in other parts of the country, these details are important.
Huge.
If because if I was getting what you're getting and I'm only doing 4, so
you're per hour
be careful.
rate.
Yeah, when you comment in chat groups and you chime in and other places and about what somebody's getting or charging for their event, be respectful and dig in a little deeper, because just here's a perfect example of 2 guys in very similar markets in 1,300 miles apart, with very different results for what the day is going to be like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Howie, I've tried to hold to that, and it's I don't know. Maybe I'm getting more soft in my old age. I used to
push over.
Maybe it's that. I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't do as many weddings. And when I would do a wedding every weekend, or sometimes a Friday and Saturday, and I would be like, now it's like okay, whatever.
Yeah.
One more, and as long as I don't hear the get off your butt and jam thing, where they're being disrespectful. Yeah, sometimes I'll do that, unless the venue's like, okay, you are done exactly at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got venues here that will actually turn the lights on.
Ugly.
In the middle of a dance if you go over.
The ugly lights are on.
Yeah.
We've got about 4 minutes left.
All right, so talk to me about money dances. How popular are they?
Let's talk about. Yep, we've got the big things we typically do is, of course, first dance, father daughter is most of the time. Mother son is about half the time. Bouquet is very, very hot again. It used to be that the bouquet was kind of passe and the garter was hot. I have not done garter this year, I don't think.
Wow.
Bouquet we have. Anniversary dances, they're seldom done. We always talk about doing it, but about the time we're ready to do it, someone has left, that couple. So we don't do it. Haven't done much of any of those this year. And the other is the dollar dance. The dollar dance or money dance, depending upon what you guys look at it as, was super hot forever. And it cooled off about 5 years ago. There were a couple of years in there where we did very few dollar dances. It's back and it's pretty much consistent. And the biggest reason for it being consistent, I think, is because people are looking at that as my chance to dance with people that I won't dance with ever again in my life.
Sure.
It's more of that. So we have that. I don't know in the last, I had one wedding last year where we were talking about the floor. The dance floor was full from the beginning of the night. And it's like, okay, we could do the dollar dance, but your dance floor, she goes, no, I don't want my dance floor. You keep that dance floor just like that, and I will be the happiest woman in the world. It's like, geez, your husband doesn't even have to show up tonight, huh? I got you taken care of there, sister.
I got a pencil, no problem. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, we do them about 98% of the time. Money dances. We do the anniversary dance. We do the shoe game occasionally. The newlywed kind of thing. So yeah, but bouquet, garter, and money dances are 99.9% of the time included. Very rarely do we not do one of those. And usually when the money dance is, or dollar dance, whatever you want to refer to it as, is not indicated, or they put a question mark or whatever, and I talk to them about it, it's usually because they've seen another DJ who handled it very poorly, and they don't want that experience at their wedding.
Yeah.
So we talk about it, and I assure them that whatever that negative was won't happen, and usually it turns into a positive. But if they say no, that's okay with me. I'm good with it. But just Friday we pulled over $800 off the groom alone, and the bride had a purse, so I don't know what she had, but assuming it was the same, it's 10 minutes worth of dancing, $1,600 later. Sure, why not?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, they definitely can be productive. Garter, have you guys had anything? We had a stretch where people wanted to do something with the garter, and they wanted to do like an auction or a raffle or something to make money with the garter. Did you guys ever experience that in your time?
No, because we do the money dances typically. So the only thing that we've done lately with garter that's been a lot of fun. Some of the guys want to have fun with a football. And so they'll put it on a football, and I'll drag up the NFL of the Monday Night Football theme, Hank Williams Jr.
Yeah,
and they'll ham around and have a great time with that. But that's about it. They're big still on. What about like sparklers? Do you do any exit things?
I did one, and that's been pretty much it. We don't see those really big closings. Is not a huge thing up here. And I've talked to so many brides about let's make this moment magical, and I bet that I've done one where we've done sparklers where it was at a golf club and they planned and they wanted to have this. And this was before I actually was starting to think about it. Where they did this thing and they went out and they got out to their car and then they looked at each other and it's like, we're having a better party in there. So they literally, everyone is like, yay, come on.
About 95% of the time we have a send-off, and that usually involves something. Some of the venues are actually starting to restrict sparklers. So I'll throw this tip out. One of the coolest things that couples have been using lately is glow sticks. They work really, really well. They show up in the pictures. Awesome. So it's a great replacement if you can't or don't want to use sparklers.
That'd be a much better idea because there was one little gal that she burned herself with the sparkler because those are hot.
Absolutely. And then why would a bride, if you can't pin money onto their dress, why would you want to send them through a welding line?
Yeah, with drunken welders.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we do sparklers, I usually put the bride, the maid or matron of honor, and the best man in charge of widening the aisle before we send them out, so that we don't have to worry about the sparkler drippings.
So take us through that closing now. So they're going to go through that, but do you do something on the dance floor to get them set up?
I know we're running short on time. I mean to cut you off.
Yeah, well, it's okay. We got a few more minutes. We're good.
Oh, great. So we what I usually do is 15 minutes before the wrap-up time, I will play one final slow song for everyone, and including the bride and groom. And so it's just and it's a final thank you for attending and helping them celebrate, et cetera, et cetera. And then as soon as that song is over, I'll usually nab the bride and groom so that people don't try to keep them on the dance floor talking, and send everyone out to set up a double departure line. And then when most people are out there, which takes about 5 minutes, I'm usually playing an exit song that the bride and groom have chosen as the guests are walking outside for the departure. And then I'll send them through, with about 3 minutes left on the clock, and we end promptly on time. Venues love me.
Yeah, venues would love that because it's like, yeah, look at, they're all going out the door.
Yeah, I get compliments all the time on ending on time.
Hey, Fly Robin just mentioned something that kind of brought to an idea. Do you have requests to do things with the kids at your weddings quite often, or are kids not involved with the wedding receptions?
No, kids are there. And they take over the dance floor while I'm playing the background seating music for people, eating and whatnot. Our make-believe cocktail hour, and I try. Lately, I've been trying to include some things for the kids in the beginning, like Frozen, Let It Go is so popular with the kids and stuff. And I try to when I have my final planning meeting with brides and grooms, I'll usually mention that and say, while everybody else is eating and the kids are on the dance floor anyway, would you mind if I do something fun with them? And most of the time they say no. I don't want to encourage them.
And I think that trend is. I think that's.
I'm trying,
Yeah, well, I think there's a balance in that we're seeing, and those of you out there watching, what have you been seeing now? I haven't had kids at a wedding, beyond maybe the flower girl. Otherwise, it's been adults only. They've only invited adults, and that's. I think this summer that's all I've seen. There was 2 or 3, and that's because it was the best man's, which would have been the brother of the groom. Yeah,
way up the ladder.
It was basically the nieces of the groom. So yeah, they had to be there. But other than that,
we have a lot. We have a lot of children.
Yeah, I haven't seen children like that because I used to. My first. So if we were going to start the dance at 8:00, I'd start at 7:45, and I would get the kids out there, and we'd do the hokey pokey and a chicken dance, hokey pokey, and then we'd do some things we had a little routine we did to the rock and robin, and then after that I would have like, okay kids, now see that bucket over there, and it would be somebody over that had either glow sticks or the glow necklaces, or my last one that would be the little flashy disco, the LED disco balls, and it's like, go over there, and Fred has got this bucket, you guys go over there and get a special prize from Fred, and then you guys can need to stay over by Fred for just a few minutes because we're going to do their first dance. Mm-hmm. I haven't had to use that one in a long time because there's nobody there. Nope. So I ended up bringing the drunk people out. Come on, drunk people, we're going to do the chicken.
Let's do the chicken dance.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.
Awesome.
So, Mike, thank you much for joining. If you guys have any questions, you can find Mike on He's out there, Facebook, and he'll answer questions, and he's going to be out there and around and such. And we've got a session with Mike Walter up next, gang. So, I should put that. Let me put that link up.
The Shadow Man. I want to shadow Mike. We need to start a movement. Let's shadow Mike.
That would be a really. That would be a really.
I wonder
cool
if he'll
person.
put us up if we go to New Jersey. What do you think?
You never know. He's got an office. He might let you sleep in the back corner.
We probably have to get up and run at 6:30 in the morning. I'm not a big runner.
that could be the cost of admission. That was way.
I love his dedication, though.
Yeah, that's for sure. Mike, thank you very much for being on, gang. I put the link in the chat so you guys can click that link, or it's in the description down below. We'll be back to you in about 3 minutes with the next session. Good night.
Good night.